everybody. For tonight, day 19 of 101 Days Live, I get to introduce someone to you who is also an introduction to me. So I just connected with September through Instagram because of an event that she has coming up that my sweet friend Brandy Cook heard about and thought that my Words Matter exhibit would be great at this event. Well, I'm in Florida and the Words Matter exhibit travels with me. So I reached out to September and said I would love to help you do this in any way possible, but I have to do it from afar. And so we're going to get to hear tonight a little bit about her event that she's putting together. So September has built a community for mental health and suicide awareness. It is called Connection is the Cure. After a rigorous battle with severe mental illness and the debilitating disease of addiction, September lost her brother, Robert Sage Dilgard, to suicide. The days following his passing were the most painful of her entire life, and you'll get to hear more from her on this, but she wanted to channel that pain and bring change to help end the stigma that surrounds mental health and suicide. So she has helped to create Connection is the Cure, and there she is. I just gave them a very brief run through of how we connected, and then very, very brief, just like the first sentence or so of that little blurb that you sent me. It's in the description above, so people can read that if they'd like. But I'd like to turn it over to you to tell us about yourself and this movement that you are starting, and just whatever you feel called to share.
Okay. All right. Well, my name is September Frogley, and I live in Meridian, Idaho. It's kind of hard to know where to start, but a lot's happened in the last handful of months. So probably about 5 years ago, my younger brother, Robert, he had always really struggled with his mental health, and he was really amazing at finding ways to channel his energy and kind of keep these coping mechanisms that he used. He learned to sing and play the guitar. He was very into his athletics. He was so good at connecting with people and was so just had this amazing ability to really accept people for who they really were, his ability to not pass judgment, and it was just very admirable. So as life went on and stresses of life became more, he kind of started losing connection with some of the ways he coped with his mental health issues and just things that he dealt with. So eventually he was just in a very bad place and ended up turning to a lot of drugs and alcohol to try to fill that void and just numb the pain. I think the pain had become very, very strong. And through some of the mistakes that he felt like he had made, I think he really started feeling like he became his mistakes, that he, couldn't be forgiven by others for those things, that, that he was just too far gone. So that obviously perpetuated his drug use. And throughout the time that he was using, he had periods of sobriety and really was trying to work on himself and trying to get to the root of like some of his issues that he had struggled with his whole life. At one point in time last summer, he ended up having a psychotic break, and that induced a state of schizophrenia that he didn't ever come out of. So he died by suicide on May 9th of 2021. So just about 6 months ago. And it was so painful to see what led up to his death. Losing that ability to connect with the people that he loved, with his family and his kids. And it was really hard. I felt like we really started to lose hope that he would ever heal, from this pain. And he was just so tired. He was so tired of fighting this battle. But after he passed, I have 5 kids of my own, and I just really started thinking about them and how we could help them, help his kids, help kids in general on how to be able to overcome these struggles that they face. I think after he passed, it was the first time that I'd felt hope in a long time. Like, I knew that he had been healed of the things that he was struggling with, and he'd been made whole again. And through that healing process, I knew that he would be ready to help the way that he wanted to help here. But with those limitations that he suffered from, that he just couldn't do that here. So I felt an urgency that really the only way that we were going to get through this pain and the only way that we were going to be able to make a difference was to share our story and be really open and transparent about, that he died by suicide and that he struggled with addiction and that he struggled with mental illness. And I know that it was a hard thing to do, but I feel like breaking down those walls and that stigma is going to be the way that people are able to overcome these things and being more open. And I know that these are very sensitive subjects and they have to be handled with care, but I just felt this urgency. So we had an experience probably about 6 weeks before he passed where he had an attempt on his life with an overdose. And my husband and I went and picked him up from a hotel and brought him to St. Luke's. And he was petrified of being institutionalized. He had been in different institutions before, and it was just a really bad experience, and it only heightened his state of schizophrenia and just all the things that made him really fearful and anxious. They treated him as best as they could for any physical things that were happening, but ultimately we were out the door and in the parking lot at 3:30 in the morning with nothing in hand, no resources, nowhere to go. And when you're in that situation, you just feel like you're drowning. Even if you had the wherewithal to reach out for a resource, like I just feel like you couldn't even get your head above water enough to figure that out. And I felt like within 24 hours of that, he had another attempt on his life. And it was really a glimpse into how broken the system is, like how I know that everyone's trying in their different professions, but the judgment and stigma that I felt like we received at the hospital that night was really painful. My brother was a nurse, and he became a nurse because of his desire to help. My mom's a nurse, my other brother's a nurse, my husband's a nurse. Like, we have all these nurses in our family, and it was hard to see. Shortly after he passed, we decided that we would start collecting items for a care package for people in crisis. So if they left the hospital under those circumstances, or left a facility or entered a facility, they would be given a care pack that had some basic toiletry items, a list of local resources, and a handwritten note of hope. So we started collecting items for those packs in the month of September, which is Suicide Awareness Month. And we just had like an overwhelming response, and it was amazing. And then probably about halfway through the month, I was made aware of a man named Alex Boyer that is on a mission that aligns like so perfectly with what I was wanting to do and what our loved ones were wanting to do. So he had been putting on mental health and suicide awareness concerts in Utah. They were free, and they were grassroots promotion, grassroots sponsorships. So I just reached out to him on Instagram and said, hey, this is my story of my brother. Do you want to come to Idaho? And he was like, I'm in. So it kind of took off from there, and it's been so amazing to see the support of this community in the Treasure Valley and their willingness to jump on board. It has honestly changed everything. And I really feel, when I go back 8 months ago when we were in that situation, standing in that parking lot, thinking this is so broken, where do you even start to make a change? And now fast forward 8 months, you really just put one foot in front of the other. And I kind of felt like maybe in life we have these moments where we reach this fork in the road and we get to decide which path we go down. And I think we have those defining moments in our life, but really I think it's every day we make that choice, which road we're going to go down. And I definitely feel like there's some days where I veer off a little and go down that path of feeling that sorrow and that heartbreak. And I think that's all part of the grieving process. But to see other people's generosity and to see them come forward and say things like, we know that something has to change, but people don't know what to do. It's like they want to help, but they don't know how, they don't know what, they don't, and I think it's different for everyone and how they grieve and how, especially this unique type of loss, but it's just been amazing. I think that we are really making a difference. Our event is planned for January 5th at the Idaho Center, which I think will be so amazing. We hope to just get everyone there. The name of our organization is Connection is the Cure. And our main goal is to connect people to people and people to resources. There are so many amazing resources that exist in the Treasure Valley. And I think it's just a matter of getting people connected with those resources so that when crisis comes, that we have a place to turn to and we know, who to turn to. And also not only those that struggle, but those that are caretakers of people who struggle, parents and family members, and also friends that maybe don't struggle themselves but want to be able to help their friends. And I think, circumstances change in life and we may be okay at one time, but our circumstances may change and something may hit where we feel really hopeless and alone, and being able to know how to verbalize that and reach out for help and know that life is hard, but when does it when does it go beyond that point where it's like, okay, this is more than just having a hard time. Like, I think I need some help. I think that early intervention piece is key. And then being able to learn to connect. And I think of connection as this web. So like we make all these connections with people and you think of each of those as like a string. And then as we go throughout life and, we end up stumbling or falling, like that web or that net is there to catch us. And I was shocked when we started planning this event at how many connections I had made over my lifetime, that I was able to reach out to people and how quickly they jumped on board. So I'm so happy that this is happening. It's been healing for my parents and my other brother, and I think really important for my brother's kids, because I want them to know that their dad's legacy is going to live on and that he was amazing and he loved them and loves them so very much. So yeah, we are in full swing in this planning of this event, and like I said, it's just so many people jumping on board.
Yeah, and it's such a beautiful thing. And my condolences for you and all of your family for your loss. And I've talked with both sides because I've struggled myself in the past. And I know being in that space where you just feel like this is it, I'm done. There's really nothing that anyone can do to get you out of that. It has to come from you. It has to come from within. And if you break those connections, like you were saying, the connections that I had when I hit my deepest, darkest low, they all knew. So, two parts here. First, being able to talk about it and let people know, hey, this is something that has been with me my whole life. So people knew that going into that darkest of nights, and they reached out to me immediately because they knew, okay, we've got to step up here. So this connections piece is crucial for sure. And just for anyone who is struggling, I'm going to add this in before I ask a couple of questions. Anyone who is struggling, please, please, please don't isolate yourself. That is the worst thing that you can do for yourself and for your loved ones, because you see how she's hurting and all of their family is hurting from the loss, and all that pain gets left behind. You might not feel it anymore, but your family's now feeling it. So please choose to connect, choose to go out, choose to find the people that can just let you cry on their shoulder or sit in silence with you, whatever it takes, just choose to stay. So what can you say to families who've lost a loved one? Because I know, speaking to families who've lost someone, there were certain things that they wished that people would have asked or said or done. So I want to see from your viewpoint, is there anything that can be shared for those families, and then also that those of us who maybe haven't lost someone so close, what we can say when we hear about your loss?
I mean, I can tell you what has helped me, and I know everyone's different because everyone has, different personalities and different relationship with the loved one that they've lost. For me, I'm a talker. I like to talk about things and get things out there and, really discuss my brother and memories of him and remembering happy times. So I really feel like for me, when people were willing to listen to my stories about him or how I needed to view or work through some of the experiences that led up to him passing, just being able to be open with that. And I think sometimes I could tell that maybe I kind of shocked people a little bit with how open I wanted to be about it, but most people received that really well and were very open to listening. And then I know some people maybe don't want to talk, and like you said, they just want to maybe sit in silence and cry. And I feel like, I mean, there's some obvious things I hope that people don't have judgment towards those that die by suicide or family. I would hope that that is becoming a thing of the past. But the days following his passing are kind of a blur. Honestly, I know that there were a lot of people around, but I think that was helpful. That isolation, I think, is, even if that's what you feel like you want to do, it's just causes a disconnect. And then I think it makes it hard for those that love you to be there for you because they don't know how to be there for you if you're, pushing them away. So even if it feels natural to isolate, probably, if that's the case, maybe, taking that time, but then kind of forcing yourself to keep going and finding a reason to, get out of bed in the morning. Mine was my kids. And I think reaching out, reaching out to people that have experienced that same type of loss. I know there's, multiple post-vention resources in the area, and we're actually, after this event, we're looking into modeling a post-vention resource after something that they've done in Malheur County, just on the other side of the Oregon border. So I think reaching out to those resources, I think being able to talk to someone that understands how you feel to a certain extent because they've experienced it is very, very helpful. And then finding a cause to get involved in, I think, is huge. I think that's probably where the most healing has come. And I want to show my kids that, we can grow and learn from probably the most from our biggest tragedies in life. So I think those things are very, very helpful. And also I think one thing that is very helpful is I reached out to, and a lot of people reached out to us with stories and memories of Robert, good stories and memories of him. And it really opened my eyes to the fact, right after he passed, I had been telling people he said that if he was able to find sobriety, he wanted to help those that were struggling with addiction and struggling with mental illness. And I was kind of feeling disappointed that maybe he didn't get that chance because he, wasn't able to find sobriety. But after his passing, we had so many people reaching out to us that just were sharing how much Robert had helped them. Even in the depths of his despair, were able to help them in their situations and their circumstances. And I think that was a big eye opener to me, that he didn't have to be at this level that he thought he needed to be a difference and make a difference and help people. So that was really an eye opener. He was helping people even in those circumstances. And I think, like I mentioned before, I think without those limitations, I have felt closer to him in the last 6 months than I did leading up to him passing. And he had this persistence that was just almost annoying. And my mom and I were talking about it the other day, and I think we shied away from being persistent. And so my personality was more like, oh, okay, like, you don't want that? Like, okay, I'm not going to bug you, or kind of being like a people pleaser, having a hard time saying no. And I have been able to channel this energy from him, this persistence that has gotten this event this far, like, this is not actually my personality. So I think being able to really think about that person that we've lost and really take some of their greatest qualities and work on those and try to possess those. And I think those are the things that keep their legacy alive.
It's funny that you bring up the persistence, because I don't know if you could hear my cat. She's never done this during a live. She got a toy out and was sitting here walking back and forth, meowing, trying to get me to play with her right now. So I'm like, okay, did your brother like cats? Like, did he play with animals? Because
Yeah.
suddenly she wants to play, and that's not what she typically, like I said, she'll come, she'll cuddle my
Yeah.
hair, and then she's good. But today, she wanted
Yeah.
to sit
Yeah.
there and be a little bit annoying. So yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Another thing that you said
That's
that
awesome.
I think is very important, because I've heard it from every single family that I've spoken to, is being able to share the stories about their loved one and not have their death be this elephant in the room. That I've talked with parents who've lost their children, and people find out how their son or daughter passed, and then people are like, oh, change the subject. They immediately want to stop talking about this person that you've lost, when all they want to do is share the stories and tell you about what an amazing person they were, because every single one has been this amazing, bright, vibrant light that was just way too bright for the human body that they were in. So what can people do to help your event? Are you still looking for participants? Are you looking for donations? How can people help?
So we are still accepting sponsorships. Obviously, this is a free event and there's a lot of moving parts. The more we're able to raise as far as sponsorships go, the more we'll be able to add to the event. I mean, it's at the Idaho Center. We are just so excited that we were able to get the Idaho Center. So sponsorship promotion is going to be huge. I mean, we want everyone that wants to be there to be able to be there. So just sharing through social media. We've been in contact with the news stations. We've had an amazing response from the news stations. They want to get this story out there and make this available. Let everyone know that it's happening so that they can know that it's available. We're probably going to have about 24 resource booths. So places like the suicide hotline, different counseling centers, different psychiatric centers, Brick House Recovery will be there, the police department, just a lot of different options as far as resources go. I think another big thing is getting the word out there that we will be collecting donation items for the care packs that we've been putting together. On our Connection is the Cure Instagram page, there's a link to our website, and the website has the list of donation items there. And then the following month of February, we're going to meet somewhere, we haven't chosen a location yet, but at a community center, and ask the community to come and help us sort those items and put together those care packs. And multiple places in the valley have agreed and, I agreed, but definitely are excited to be able to carry those packs to be able to distribute as they see needed, So that's a big piece. But I would say the biggest thing is promotion. So get involved, tell your friends about it, and just come and enjoy. Like the music is going to be amazing. We're going to have just a lot of different opportunities. So I think that Alex said, come in and enjoy and dance the night away. Like, so I think that he's so high energy, and just being able to get some of his energy is worth coming. I think sponsorships and promotion is like the biggest thing that we're working on right now, and then planning that second event, that follow-up event.
We're coming to the end of our half an hour together. Is there anything you'd like to leave the viewers with? Oh, I have one question that just popped up before you go there, so this will give you more time to think too.
Yeah.
The question is, can out-of-state people send a monetary donation?
Yes, so we have a link so everything is run through the Forever Young Foundation, which is Steve Young's foundation, his nonprofit. We have that, and we also have a Venmo account that is set up.
So now to that big question, is there anything you'd like to leave people with?
Well, first of all, tell the people that you love them, and hug them. And even if you feel like they are doing things that maybe aren't bringing them happiness, but they're struggling. Or I had said in the little bio that I gave, my brother had said this quote, and he would always use it, but it was, today let us have compassion and allow others their limitations without judgment. And you just never know what people are going through. And I know that we hear people say that, and it kind of almost sounds like cliche, but people are going through so much, especially right now on the tail end of this pandemic, and just different things. And I think just having extra compassion and empathy, I think, really changes the way we see people. I think everyone's trying, even if it doesn't seem like it sometimes, to do their best with what they've been given. And I think there's a quote that says, when we know better, we do better. When we really know and understand that people are struggling, we do better taking care of each other. The other thing is I feel like really dig deep for that worth that each of us have, that worth and that divine ability to be a light in other people's life. And I think that when we can really discover that and cultivate that, we are able to see our path so much clearer. And I think teaching this rising generation that when you find your worth and you know what you're capable of, that path becomes so much clearer. And I think that is so important and can help a lot of people. And that, like I mentioned before, just that early intervention piece and connection. I think those are two really big pieces to helping people through their darkness.
Yeah, and I love that, the care package idea. I mean, that's beautiful. It should have been done many, 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 many years ago, and you are making it happen. So what a way to honor your brother and help other people who are struggling. Thank you for your time, and thank you for all that you're doing,
so much.
all that your family's doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Much love, and good night.